I will write to the president of the Labour Party, asking him to hold the election of its new leader on January 12, 2020. In the days after, I will also resign from my position as Prime Minister.
In the end, it was pressure from the people that ended Joseph Muscat's career as Malta's Prime Minister. For months, he had been suspected of interfering in the investigation into the assassination of journalist Daphne Caruana Galizia and had been facing increasing calls to resign.
Everyone's upset. The country is so angry because of the situation, you know. We definitely need to get rid of the people who have created this mess, who are still in government.
The wave of anger was unprecedented for the small island, and it all began thanks to the family of the late journalist, which engaged in a tireless struggle to tell the world about the government's implication.
They are not going to leave because they are ashamed. They are not going to leave because they are unpopular. They're not going to leave because they left support. They're going to leave because they have to. And people are going to stay as long as it takes. But it is important that this is happening because it makes it very difficult for them to continue in the way they have been for the last 6 years.
But how did the Daphne Caruana Galizia case bring down the Maltese government? It all began in 2016 when the journalist started looking into the Maltese connections in the Panama Papers. The tax evasion scandal named several people close to the Prime Minister.
At the center of this storm of scandal, there are 3 companies set up in Panama, one by the Prime Minister's Chief of Staff and one by the Prime Minister's closest cabinet minister. The scandal has increased recently because of the discovery of who owns the other company, which was the Prime Minister's wife, which means, in effect, the Prime Minister.
Joseph Muscat, on shaky ground, was forced to call early elections in June 2017, elections which he won with a comfortable majority. But on October 16th, Daphne Caruana Galizia was killed when her car was blown up. Police quickly began to suspect a political hit job. 2 months later, her 3 assassins were identified and arrested by police, but authorities hit a brick wall when it came to establishing who ordered the killing. Several NGOs began pointing the finger at the lack of separation of powers and at the state's interference.
The Prime Minister and his ministers appoint almost every head of entity in Malta responsible for the protection of our fundamental freedoms. So for us, it seems impossible that anyone can get independent evaluation of their fundamental rights when the adjudicators themselves are so close to government.
Facing pressure to speak out, the Council of Europe called for the launch of an independent investigation. Fast forward to November 14th, Melvin Toma was arrested by police. He is believed to be the middleman between the 3 assassins and Jorgen Fenech, a powerful businessman.
Are you afraid to take alone the responsibility, Mr. Fenech?
Fenech, in turn, blamed Keith Schembri, alleged to be the mastermind behind the murder and the former chief of staff for Joseph Muscat.
All prime ministers, I believe that
in the following weeks, the prime minister is believed to have protected Schembri and to have kept him up to speed on every development in the investigation. At a hearing in December, Joseph Muscat was unable to provide a convincing explanation.
I don't think that our concerns have been allayed after this meeting. This is not just between the Prime Minister and the Maltese people. This is also between Malta and the European Union. Cooperation within the European Union is based on trust, and I think it is very evident to everybody that that trust has been very seriously damaged.
Muscat then took part in several other hearings with police, judges, and NGOs, with, in the end, a blistering assessment for the Prime Minister.
Honestly, I was born in an African country. I saw a lot of things in my life. I never thought I would see things like that in the European Union.
Unfortunately, it's not that important what we believe what Mr. Muscat is doing or not doing, but the trust is totally destroyed. And if the trust is destroyed, you can't simply continue as if nothing is happening. Yes, the Prime Minister has to leave.
But despite the heavy accusations, many Maltese citizens see Joseph Muscat as the symbol of the island's economic recovery. A few hours before his decision to resign, 46% of them said they wanted him to remain in power.